All right. Hi, everyone, and welcome to our release kickoff for milestone 16.5. My name is Hillary Benson. I'm the product leader here at GitLab for our SEC and data science sections, and I'll be your host for today's live stream. I'm happy to introduce the other product leaders joining me to talk about the 16.5 milestone today in the order they're presenting. They are Josh Lambert, who's Director of Product Management and will provide updates for the enablement section. Taylor McCassin, who's Group Product Manager and will provide updates for the data science section. Melissa Ushakov, who's also a Group Product Manager and will provide updates for the dev section. Sam White, Group Product Manager, will provide updates for the SEC section. And Victor Naji, Senior Product Manager, will provide updates for the CICD sections. We're focused on delivering value iteratively with a focus on our fiscal 24 product investment themes. Those themes are to build a world-class DevSecOps experience that's focused on first-class usability, additional collaboration capabilities, and AI-powered workflows. Second, to provide advanced security and compliance capabilities. We want to add depth to our ultimate tier by bringing software supply chain security to the forefront of how software is delivered. Third, bringing observability, analytics, and feedback into the DevSecOps lifecycle, and empowering organizations to close the SDLC loop with data. And then finally, GitLab for Data Science, which enables data science and engineers to experience the same benefits that their counterparts experience across the entire DevSecOps platform, including collaboration and reproducibility and streamlined deployment into production. Real quickly, before handing it over to Josh, I do have to preface today's call with our forward-looking statement disclosure, so bear with me. On this live stream, we'll be discussing our roadmap, which includes upcoming features and functionality. It's important to note that that information is provided for informational purposes only. Please don't rely on it for planning or purchasing decisions. We plan very ambitiously here at GitLab, and all the details on this live stream are subject to change. The timing of product features and functionality remain at the sole discretion of GitLab. And with that, I'll hand it over to Josh to kick us off.
Thanks, Larry. So I'll get things started with our enablement section, and in particular, the world-class DevOps experience theme. Again, this is not everything that we are doing in the enablement section. And so please do look at the planning issues that are linked, as well as the kickoff videos that folks have created to learn more and find out more what we're doing. And also, of course, engage with the team. But we'll kick things off with our search group, who is working to continue to improve the search experience, in particular for code across GitLab. And so we're working on a new engine that will allow us to do regex searching, as well as provide more complete results than we had previously. So we're looking forward to this, and we are working to do a few things further on our opt-in beta before we move towards the opt-out beta. We already have a few folks who are interested already up and running on GitLab.com with the new code search solution. So excited to hear their feedback. And again, we are progressing further towards wrapping up the opt-in phase and moving further on into the opt-out phase, which you can see down here and click through that if you'd like to learn more about our opt-out phase. From there, we can move over to our application performance, soon to be Cloud Connect group, who is working on supporting GitLab Duo for self-managed. So previously, they were instrumental in helping to bring code suggestions feature for self-managed. And we are moving on to the second AI-powered feature that we're working towards, which is GitLab Duo Chat. This will allow to have that chat experience and search through documentation, ask questions, and receive answers. So looking forward to making that available to our self-managed customers. Next up is our Geo group, who is working to continue to improve our backup and recovery processes for all of our customers. The one we're working on here is to accelerate the time it takes to compress some of the larger items like repositories, as well as some object storage data, if you're using our services for backing up those. And we're doing this by being able to leverage multi-core compression, which is one of the more time-consuming phases that tends to take a long time if you have a lot of content. So looking forward to helping to shrink the overall backup times with this feature. Still on the geo section, we are also working to improve how geo secondaries can be utilized to help offload the traffic from CI build farms. And so if you have a lot of CI jobs that are running, you can stand up a geo secondary. And with this feature functionality, once it's available, you'll be able to have the latest CI, latest branch information in that secondary for your CI jobs to pull from, which will help make sure your primary, even if your secondary, even if your CI build farms are very large, running a lot of jobs, can still easily handle your user base, as well as make sure that stays responsive and processing of all the user commits. So So looking forward to helping to drive further scale possibility for customers who have lots and lots and lots and lots of CI jobs. We are also working on our organization prototype over in our tenant scale group. Organizations will allow us to better encapsulate a organization's data and allow it to feel more like a full account with clear boundaries and separation between other organizations. This will also allow us to improve how we scale GitLab with our sales work that I can talk about next. But in particular for the organization, we're working on some of the fundamentals, things like roles, membership, creation of organization, and some of those really kind of key workflows that you'd want with this new entity. Over on the sales group, as I just mentioned, this is more about the horizontal scalability of GitLab, in particular for large SaaS services. We are working on the ability to allow users to create a project on a secondary cell while having a common set of users and groups. And so this will allow us to move forward. We first had the ability to create a second cell, then we had the ability to create a group on a second cell, and now we're creating a project on a second cell. So we're kind of iteratively working through some of the key workflows here to help bring cells to life and allow us to continue to scale really any SaaS service for a long, long time to come. Moving over into our Giddily group in the maintenance section, we are continuing to work on our read-ahead logging functionality in Giddily. What this will allow us to do is to effectively accomplish two things. One is it supports our change from our current consensus mechanism of how Giddily cluster manages which nodes are in sync over to a raft architecture, which will have significant improvements. But it also allows us to stream the read-ahead log off to a secondary source like object storage. And this will allow customers to reduce the recovery point objective to significantly smaller, because you can have your snapshot, your backup, and then replay the read-ahead log to get back very close to where you potentially may have had an outage or something like that. So looking forward to the RPO improvements, as well as, of course, the raft improvements this unlocks. Over in the database group, we are continuing to understand and work towards resolving the lightweight lock contention. This is particularly important because our work towards partitioning may actually make this worse. And so we are working to better understand this and develop a plan forward for how to address this particular locking situation we have on some Postgres databases that are particularly large. Speaking of Postgres databases, we are just about wrapping up our work on migrating from an int4 to a big int column for our primary keys. This is so these tables that utilize big int4s don't run out of space, for example. And so we are actually all done for all of our tables for SaaS. We have one table to go for self-managed, and then we have some cleanup operations. So we are at the very tail end of this and looking forward to getting that behind us. Moving over towards our distribution group, the last two items, we are continuing our work towards production readiness for our operator. The operator is similar to our Helm chart in that it deploys GitLab in a cloud-native way to Kubernetes, but it has the ability to have more day two operations and automation as a part of it, because it's actually in kind of a piece of code that runs as a control plane as more of instead of Helm, which is more of a single state which gets deployed. So looking forward to this and the improvements it can bring once it's ready for production. And the last item for distribution is we are working towards bringing ARM support for our cloud native images for folks who want to leverage ARM machines, which can have, depending on workload, better efficiency and cost per compute unit, if you will, for your workloads like GitLab. So looking forward to those and all the rest enablements work that we're doing for this release. And I'll hand it over to Taylor to take us through the AI-powered functionality.
Awesome. Thanks, Josh. My name is Taylor McCaslin. I'm going to walk you through our data science section, which is focused on providing a world-class DevSecOps experience within our AI-powered DevSecOps platform. I'm going to start with an overview of our AI framework. This is an abstraction layer to make it easier for us to interact with all of the different AI models that we support. Let me get my screen shared here. Where is it? As I'm trying to pull this up, our AI framework has just moved to AI streaming for many of our AI capabilities. That streaming is in the process of being rolled out at the moment. We are in the process of cleaning up all of the work that is part of that move. There we go. And so we've got a few follow-up items to help streamline all of the chat streaming capabilities and pieces. So a couple of changes there. We're also unifying our implementation of Anthropic to our AI gateway, which again abstracts the way that GitLab calls all of these different large language models. This will provide stability, more visibility, and real-time monitoring to all of these capabilities as well. Next, I'll move to chat. This is GitLab Duo Chat, so a chat interface for interacting with GitLab and a large language model. As I mentioned before, we've enabled streaming on chat to speed up the requests and the experience of interacting with chat. We're now expanding that streaming support to documentation questions so that you can ask it questions about how GitLab functions and anything covered in GitLab documentation. We're also moving to allow storing multiple conversations for users. They can resume multiple different threads of chats with Duo Chat. We are also unifying the Duo Chat experience. This is going to be the gateway for us to roll out chat to both the web IDE as well as the web experience and VS Code. We're starting with the web user experience and then an experimental VS Code support that is coming as part of this implementation so that you can interact with it both in gitlab.com in the UI that you see right now and VS Code in experimental capacity. We're also then adding support for some of our other AI capabilities like generate tests so that you can interact and generate tests within the context of Duo Chat. Finally, moving to our AI model validation group, they are building a prompt evaluation system for us to more scientifically evaluate changes to our AI prompt engineering capabilities. We're formalizing this architecture to support more types of use cases. Today, we support code suggestions. We will soon support other things like chat, prompt engineering, as well as natural language processing. We're also changing the way that we test code suggestions using the actual API that powers code suggestions so that we get the latest and greatest and always can test exactly what is available to customers in the product. And then finally, we're also starting to evaluate more models. Right now, code suggestions is powered by Google AI. We're also evaluating many other open source AI models now that we have a formal AI evaluation framework. And so that gives you a quick overview of how we're iterating towards a world-class DevSecOps experience within our AI-powered DevSecOps platform. Now I'll hand it over to Melissa to talk about Dev.
Hello, everyone. I'm Melissa Ushakov, and I'm going to be talking about the Dev section. And I'm going to be covering mainly two themes: world-class DevSecOps experience and observability, analytics, and feedback. So starting with world-class DevSecOps experience, the team working on remote development continues to iterate toward GA. If you haven't looked at the beta offering of this, I would encourage you to go take a look. And what they're working on this milestone is having more robust error handling and logging of errors, and improving the logic for workspace termination, how that's done, how that's displayed in the UI, and just cleaning that experience up. For the web IDE, today, user settings aren't persisted across devices because they're stored in your browser storage. And the team's working on a new way of doing that so that if you're using different devices, different browsers, your same settings apply across the board. So a good usability improvement. For our work items framework, which is what new framework that we're building for enterprise agile planning that's used in tasks and OKRs today, we are now introducing the ability to link items. So calling items related, blocked, or blocking. And we're taking the opportunity to make some improvements to the experience. It will look a little bit like this. If you're familiar with how blocking and related issues display today, we don't have all this additional metadata. So this is an improvement to basically allow you to get an at-a-glance information about items that may be blocking your progress. When issues and epics move to this new experience of work items, they'll get this additional improvements as well. Multiple pages support is something that's been a highly requested feature. So today in Pages, there's not a good way to preview changes before they're made. So there's not an ability to have, for example, a staging environment. But that's what the team's working on in this milestone. And this has been a highly requested item. You see here 30 votes. So hopefully you all enjoy this when it is deployed. And our import team's working on improving the scale of our GitHub importer. So some of you are trying to move to GitLab and you have hundreds or thousands of projects, and the experience is being refined. So the team's doing things like having better logging, ending the import earlier in case there are issues and giving you feedback about why, and also executing multiple workers. So basically parallelizing more of the work so that the work goes faster. For observability, analytics, and feedback, really exciting thing the team's working on, which is a POC for ClickHouse. So ClickHouse was selected as the basics data store for big data and insert heavy requirements. So instead of Postgres being used as the database that we're pulling all the reports from, using ClickHouse. And the team's working on a POC to basically translate contribution analytics to using ClickHouse. So this report's one that's heavily used and loved, but it can get a little bit slow with really large data sets. So a really exciting improvement to that report, but it's also an important step in basically translating our reports to ClickHouse. We continue to add more metrics to Value Stream's dashboard with pipelines and successful pipelines being added. So this gives you an idea of how continuously you're deploying. And last but not least, an improvement to the usability of Value Stream analytics. So when you go to this report, you generally want to see data across a segment of time, but it was kind of cumbersome to select basically a start and end date. So our UX team has designed this cool little component, which basically gives you a shortcut for common date ranges that someone may choose. It's going to be added to Value Stream Analytics first, and then rolled out to the rest of the places in GitLab where you choose date ranges for reports. So that's it for me. Over to Sam for SEC.
All right, thanks, Melissa. In SEC, we continue to focus on the advanced security and compliance theme. And within that, there are a few key initiatives that we have in progress currently. The first one is improving and simplifying our security scanning. And this milestone, we plan on focusing on SAST, DAST, and dependency scanning. For SAST, we plan on improving our rule set, and we're focusing in especially on removing low efficiency or low efficacy and low value rules and enhancing the detection logic there. On DAST, we're working to add in active attack checks so that we can eventually get parity with our ZAP-based offering and completely replace that with our proprietary browser-based DAST offering. On dependency scanning, we're working to bring GA support for continuous vulnerability scanning. This is something that we actually included in 16.4 as an experiment, and we're working to take this to GA. One of the other themes that we're working towards is more granular role-based access control. And as part of this, we've added a capability for group owners who may have their enterprise users authenticating through an identity provider and want to prevent password authentication. This has caused some confusion in the past, and so we're working to roll this out so that group owners can prevent that password authentication and require everything to go through their IDP. Similar, we have projects in place to allow this in the merge request. When approving a merge request requires the user to authenticate, they can authenticate through their IDP. And then lastly, we're continuing to work towards customizable permissions, and we're working to add in a new customizable permission of managing your project access tokens. Moving on, another key theme that we're working towards is top-down security and compliance. And as part of this, we've been working on our dependency list at the group level. This is what we're working towards as the end state. We did launch this fairly recently, and we're working as an MVC, and we're working to add in the rest of these columns. So we'll be adding in the license column here, and then we'll also be allowing users to filter by both project and license. Similarly, we're working to improve our vulnerability report by adding the ability to group so that users can group either by severity or by status. As far as top-down security and compliance goes, we're also introducing a new type of security policy, which allows you to apply controls to any merge request. These are key because they can be managed separately so that developers and maintainers cannot change these settings We have full separation of duties so that security teams can actually enforce these on projects. And we are working to make this provide full compliance enforcement of these policies so that those developers and maintainers will not be able to circumvent it in any way. This includes options to prevent pushing or force pushing to a protected branch, or to protect somebody from unprotecting a branch, and also to prevent approvals from the merge request author or committer. These policies apply only to projects that have a security policy in place with these boxes checked, and these settings down here apply only to those particular rules. But by combining all of these capabilities together, it gives security and compliance teams the tools that they need to definitively require all merge requests to be approved by at least 2 people, and to be confident that there's no way for those developers or maintainers to bypass or circumvent that process. Another key piece of functionality that we're working to release this milestone is our MVC of our new standards adherence report. And this report reports up at a project level and lets you see how you're adhering to key compliance standards across your entire project, rather than our previous violations list, which reported things out on a merge request by merge request basis. So here you can come in and see at a glance things like whether or not you have had any merge requests that have gone through and been merged in without getting 2 approvals on them. And then you can also come in and see whether or not those are being enforced. This also is going to just be our first MVC release, so everything you see in this mock is going to come in future iterations as well. Then lastly, we're working to improve the merge request security experience. We've added a retry button here next to our status checks, so that if those fail, you can go through and retry them rather than just leaving them in a failed state. We're also working to improve that entire experience here so that we have better support for timeouts. And then lastly, we're working to improve the merge request security experience by adding a dropdown on the security tab of the pipeline page so that you can see which findings are new and which findings are pre-existing for that pipeline as it compares to the default branch. And with that, I will hand it over to Victor for CICD.
Thank you. So here comes the screen share. Yes, so my name is Victor Nagy, Senior PM in the CD section, and I'll be kicking off 16.5 for the CI and CD sections combined. These sections support developers and platform engineers to effectively complete their automation, configuration, and operations tasks in GitLab after a developer commits code. The 3 stages within the section are verify, package, and deploy. And we have a bunch of super interesting investments across all these stages planned in 15.5. Our core team this release is world-class DevSecOps experience, where we have several teams making some great contributions, namely, our runner core group will be extending the beta fleeting plugin technology for auto-scale functionality to AWS. This will empower our self-managed runner customers to dynamically respond their runners fleet to the CI/CD workloads, meeting you where you run CI/CD runtimes as a best-in-class CI provider. Our environments group will be focusing on simplifying the life of everyone who needs to interact with the Kubernetes cluster from their local desktop by supporting command line access to the clusters using GitLab user identities. This will reduce the friction for cluster users via specific command in the GitLab CLI to manage local cluster configurations. This you can only achieve using kubectl to manage your Kubernetes configuration files. And these simplifications make it much easier for unexperienced users to get started accessing clusters through GitLab. Another audience we will be meeting with some improvements in 16.5 are the developers. Our pipeline security and pipeline execution groups are fixing some key workflows for them. First, the pipeline security group will be continuing improvements in the variables consistency by extending the behaviors that can be completed in the drawer component for variable inputs to include editing, adding, and deleting environment variables. Second, pipeline execution has a host of merge trains improvements to come. there is an unexpected and very inconvenient experience we are excited to be addressing in 16.5. We want to improve support to merge requests when there is no pipeline, but automate is set on the project. Today, this is not supported. Our second team in the CICD sections are contributing to our advanced security and compliance. In this domain, the verify stage will be delivering some improvements to meet compliance requirements. In this issue from pipeline execution group, we tackle when some GitLab instance would like to prevent all access rows from being able to cancel pipelines. So we will be adding a setting that supports canceling pipelines, or actually disables the support for canceling the pipeline. And finally, but definitely not least, our pipeline security team is beginning to work on their secrets manager MVC, minimum viable change, which will be a great win if you are not looking to use an external key store for your variables that contain secrets, but would prefer a GitLab provided solution. This list is by no means a comprehensive take of everything we are shipping in the CI and CD sections. Please take a moment to review Kickoff videos and direction pages if you are interested in learning more. And this wraps up all for our sections, and I will pass it back to Hillary for any closing remarks.
Thanks so much, Victor. So as per usual, there's a lot of really interesting stuff going on at GitLab. So just to wrap us up, I wanted to pull out just a few highlights from what the team talked about today. From code search improvements and GitLab Duo support for self-managed to improvements across our organization's sales capabilities to provide better ability to scale GitLab within your organizations. Adding streaming on Duo Chat and unifying the chat experience across both VS Code and our web IDE, and working on that prompt library for model evaluation, really exciting. Introducing the ability to link items for blocked or related issues into our work items types, and using ClickHouse to store and process contribution analytics, the addition of a date range selector to our value stream analytics capabilities. To delivering our first iteration of continuous vulnerability scanning, which will be a big improvement for customers trying to manage vulnerabilities across all of their projects. Filtering for group level dependency list by license or project, and grouping for the vulnerability report by severity and status. That beta fleet plugin technology for autoscale functionality to AWS across our runners. And then that native secrets management capability in GitLab, our MVC for secrets management. So this is just a sample of everything that we're working on. So please check out the release kickoff page for a full list of items, and feel free to comment on our issues and engage with the team. We love getting interaction from customers and from folks across the community. So please don't hesitate to reach out. And with that, just want to say thanks for watching the 16.5 release kickoff, and please have an awesome day.